Welcome everyone to this holiday edition of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Penteleresco. I write stuff and podcast too. I find it oddly appropriate that my Christmas episode is going to be a returning guest, a full circle guest in one respect. Thea van Diepen is back on the podcast. Now, if you listen to her way back in episode 70, I can't believe we've been this long since she's been here. She was going to Japan, and this conversation took place after she came back. I was really impressed with what I saw when she came back, and honestly, it was a great conversation. I can't think of a more appropriate Christmas conversation than with Miss Thea van Diepen. Before we get to the interview, I kind of want to mention something here. My friends Adam Dries and Susie Bedori are doing a really cool thing. Books for a Good Cause. They are literally going door to door in Calgary, delivering books and doing it for a very good cause. Books for a good cause.com is what you should check out, and it gives all the information there. I'm reading Susie's book, The West Woods, right now, and it's really, really good. Susie is a really gifted writer. I can't wait for book 3 already, and I'm not even through this book yet, but she did a really good job making a mean girl, quote unquote, very likable, and you should definitely check it out. Adam, of course, I love Adam's Wizard Killer series. I really dig it. It's kind of like adrenaline on like speed for me, and it's one of the most creative, I think, styles of writing I've seen in a long time. But his other series too, there's Man of Cloud 9, which is a book I'm really, really, really looking forward to getting my reading early next year. And there is his children's series, which is also really, really good. All right, check them out. Booksforagoodcause.com. All right, let's get to our conversation with Thea van Diepen.
All right.
It's okay.
You have a radius.
I will turn on the all-powerful, amazing recording equipment. So,
Magical.
it's magical and stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
I like watching it, and then you can kind of see where people's voices are.
Kind of. There's a lot, like in this particular case, like there's a lot of background noise, and in this.
Yeah, but it's pretty clear. Like yours is like really spiky, and mine's like not so spiky.
Well, yeah, because I'm loud and obnoxious and boisterous and all that.
You have a deeper voice too,
Yeah.
and that shows up differently. Yeah.
Indeed.
So it's volume plus pitch.
Volume plus pitch.
Yeah.
Thinking
There's
about-
like 3 different aspects of like a sound. I'm trying to remember my phonology classes now. There's loudness and there's pitch. Oh, come on. Timbre is the other thing. Yeah.
Timbre. Never heard that one actually before.
That's kind of more like the unique sound. So like the reason that like a flute and a saxophone could be playing the exact same note, but you would be able to tell them apart because of their timbre.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, how is everything? You've been around the world now.
Yes, and then sleep deprived the last 2 nights. So.
Me and you have different definitions of sleep deprived, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, I need like 10 hours of sleep at night to be like happy. I can function pretty well on 9. As soon as I'm down to 8 hours at night, like 1 night's good, that's fine. 2 nights in a row is like, 3 nights in a row is like, okay, tomorrow I need to get sleep, or else I'm just gonna be like, blah.
You're gonna be there. See me. I'm actually. I can function on 6. I'm happiest at 8. I sleep 10 if only under 2 occasions I'm depressed or I'm really tired.
See, I can function on less sleep.
No.
But the question is how well.
Well, it's funny because see, for me, I find if I get to around 8, like when I was younger, 9 was my comfort zone.
Right.
It was my comfort zone. Now I've gotten a little older. My comfort zone is actually closer to 7 or 8. Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's closer to there.
Yeah.
6 is actually the right ideal, because that's the max function minimum. Like minimum effort, right? I find once you also get to a certain point with sleep, you tend to be very lethargic. After a certain point, like you might be like happy, but then you're not as quick, or you're not as.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if like I actually find myself lethargic if I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
I found that like getting enough sleep for me is really, really good for my mood.
Yes.
I remember like a couple of times in Japan, I'd be like not getting enough sleep, and then I'd have to wake up early on Sunday because, if you're living in a church, you are present and accounted for all church activities on a Sunday, which is a lot. And for me, except the only time that I kind of had to myself was in the afternoon. And there were a couple times where I was just like falling asleep during the church service and starting to dream actually while doing that, and that's my sign that I need to sleep. So then I would go up to, like, depending on what month I was there, is like either up to the third floor or up into the apartment. So I moved from one to the other partway through, and then just like sleep and have a nap. And the couple of times that I did that, I slept for 4.5 hours, like straight.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I was so happy, and I was just like, oh man, the world is wonderful, the future is bright, you people are wonderful, I love everyone. And I'm like, okay, I clearly needed this.
Yes. Well, so me, I remember I did a youth group field trip, and in the afternoon, I thought it was mysterious that I just fell asleep, and I woke up and it was night. I was supposed to have gone to this 3-hour sermon, and I missed that whole thing. Because
Unfortunate.
No, see, that's a matter of perspective. See,
I guess. It depends how much did you want to go to the sermon.
Well, it's not even so much. No, I don't even look at it from that point of view. I look at it from this point of view.
Yeah.
That sermon was not important for me. Because if it was important for me, the universe would have said, "You're going no matter what," right?
Yes.
See, this is what I have found.
Yeah.
If I want to avoid something I don't want to do, what happens in my life is that my excuses not to go mysteriously start to disappear. Like they go like, well, you want to do this? No, I don't. So we're gonna take away this excuse like here. But I could still use this, and then that one mysteriously disappears. And then that one mysteriously disappears. Till it comes to the point where you just get to the point where you're like, no, if I don't go, then it's because I don't want to go. Now, sometimes I still don't want to go and don't go, but what ends up happening there is I end up regretting that decision in some form or fashion.
Oh yeah.
Right? Now, consequently, if it's not important, if it's not really that important, then those excuses are just there in multitudes, and I can actually go.
Triples.
Yeah.
Not only are they there, but they tend to multiply.
They tend to multiply. So it's one of those things where I've tended to find that sometimes that sermon or that experience that everybody else is going and excited about, it actually just might not be for you that day, that time, that moment, that zen. And you know what? That's okay. That 4.5 hours sleep was more of a necessity thing.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
And I always had like really like vivid, weird dreams, and I wish I had written them down because they had really cool storylines, and I'm just like, oh man.
I actually wrote a comic based on a dream once.
Nice.
I dreamt I was superhuman, but I couldn't speak.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't speak, but I was stronger, faster, and I ended up going back to Windsor, Ontario, looking for my sister. I realized I was looking for her. I went to my grandmother's house, my grandmother's house, and it was literally like half not there anymore. I went, I picked up a music box, and then the dream got really vivid. In that, and the dream got really vivid because that's when I had to fight this like biker gang from the apocalypse, and I got shot.
Into Mad Max.
Oh no, very much so. I had a Mad Max-ish kind of deal to it because I got shot at. I literally remember, maybe it's because I played Devil May Cry 3 like late the night before, but there's this one like video game sequence in Devil May Cry where Dante actually rides a missile. right?
Oh wow.
Yes, yes. He literally surfs
Okay.
he surfs on a missile.
He surfs on.
Oh, yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
Of course, you're gonna surf on missiles. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's what you do on missiles.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's one of those half demon kind of deals, right? So,
Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
So, but
That's funny.
no, but it's just like no, it just got like I could do really enhanced things. I could not speak anymore. That was the price for it, and so and I don't remember if I ever found her. Like the dream never got that far. But so I decided that I would write a comic that would actually have very little. The only places they had dialogue was when they were kids, and I did it in post-apocalyptic Japan, and the enemies were Izumi and Izanagi. So I did a retelling of that story, but with the post-apocalyptic Japan, the main character, and the main character just couldn't speak. So which I thought was a really interesting dichotomy, because it made me read it taught. Although that comic never saw the light of day, it taught me an awful lot about how characters work in comics in terms of descriptions, how you can tell stories without words.
It's amazing how much you learn just by doing a thing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I know how to do this thing. I'm going to do it, and then you do it, and you're like, I have no idea how to do this thing, but somehow I did it. Like, what?
Well, you learn things, right? Every time you do an experience. Like for me, like I said, like one of the things I'm coming to terms with in my more adult life is I have to be more Yes, more adult. Because come on, me, an adult fully, I don't think that's ever going to actually happen, right? Or I play by my own rules. I think that will never change. But
and you wouldn't want it to.
No, I don't. No. And
it would be a sad Josh if that changed.
Yes, I think it'd be a sadder world. I think it would be a sadder world in general. People that tend to go against what's true to them tend to actually end up being very miserable.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about dreams and doing things. So I have a game coming out next month.
Yes, you do.
Right. So.
By the way, this will probably air after your game comes out.
Oh, okay. So basically, the game's out by the time this is aired. Then I don't know.
Yeah. Probably because I'm going to try to air around the same.
There'll be like a link somewhere that people can click on. Yeah. I guess.
I don't know. You're going to have to give me all that information.
Oh, I'll totally give you that information.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give it to you and trust that you'll display it in places that people can find. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a game. It's called The Tree in the Grave, and it was actually based on a dream. I don't know if I told you this, but yeah, I had this dream one night, like when I was like a teenager, preteen teenager, and there was like this bad guy, and like I was like had like powers because I always do in my dreams because it's awesome. And basically, what I ended up dreaming is the whole backstory to the game. I'm trying to think of like what details do I give, what details do I not give, because I don't want to give it away because that's like part of the mystery. But yeah, you kind of discover all of that as you play. But it was interesting. So both in the sense of like I had a cool dream that then years later I've made into a thing. Then making it, that's like my first game that I've ever made, like myself, and I learned a lot about like because it was small enough, I learned a lot about polishing my words.
Yes.
I polished those things like crazy, probably a little bit too much, but I wanted every word to count.
Well, but reading it was actually pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
If there's one actual criticism that I could have to the game, well, actually, there's actually two. One is you don't have any negative consequences if people make bad choices.
Okay.
Right. The reason that's important in a game is you want to reward people, and your game is almost completely a reward. And there is no actual risk of failure at any point.
By the time I realized this, it was kind of too late.
No,
No, it's because you mentioned it. So for those who don't know, Josh was involved in the bug testing phase and in the proofing phase. And in the bug testing phase, he said this to me in an email, and I was just like, dang it, can't fix that now.
Yes, that's it. That's criticism 1. Criticism 2, and it's not really a big one. More pictures, because it's a cool story, but that it would have presented itself a little bit better if you had just a couple more pictures here and there. Yeah.
And again, I would love to have more pictures, but it was just constraints of time and ability, mostly ability.
It's like I said. It's not like for a first game, it's pretty good, right? It's pretty good for.
And there are images in there. It was originally not going to have any, except at like the very beginning. And as I was looking at it, I was like, no, Thea, you need stuff. So,
yes.
Yeah. I tried to put them where they would have the most.
Yes. I almost feel like it's light novella-esque.
I can see that. It's kind of interactive. Like you kind of have your own pathway through the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I did a video game conference, and I was with the guys at the Dragon Age. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, and I feel really BioWare. Yeah.
Every time I try to say BioWare, I always think BioShock. And that's wrong.
BioShock. That's
right.
They
both start with bio, and then they have another word afterwards. It's just the one syllable. Gosh darn it all.
Bio. So I just say bio, she's going to say shock.
Well, actually, no, I'm going to sit there being like, should it be shock? Or should it be where? I don't know. And my brain will flip through both, and it's just, yes.
So I get where shock.
I said it starts like a werewolf of some sort.
I know.
Where shock is like somebody who can like randomly changes between like human and electricity, I guess.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, it wouldn't be full moon. It would be like during a solar flare.
Yeah, during a solar flare.
So a solar flare happens, and then they change, and then they're in that form until the next solar flare. And you can't predict when it's gonna be. That'd be awful.
That would be terrifying.
It would be. Maybe we shouldn't do that.
Why not? It sounds hilarious. See, and that's my other little ability. As the year has progressed, I have found more of Thea's laugh buttons as time has progressed. I also though think it's also I've also beaten some walls into submission. I think that's the other my other theory about.
No, I don't think you did. I think just life did.
Yeah.
Just life.
That's good though. Walls need to be beaten into submission. So there's not every wall we have is healthy.
True.
And
I mean, sometimes they're necessary for a bit to help us heal.
Yes.
But after we've healed, it's like, okay, so now what is this serving me anymore? And it might not be.
No, and life said you don't need those walls. And we're like, but I like those walls. Like no, man.
Okay. So traveling around the world for a year means that you literally never know what's going to happen next.
Yep.
You hope you do. You hope the plans that you made will actually work, or at least mostly work. And then find out what happens, and then you never. Yeah. I left being like, I don't like change. I don't like change. No, transitions, bad. And now I'm just like, you know what? The whole point of it all is not what's happening on the outside, because that can be full of all kinds of uncertainty and everything, and I have literally no control over that, but I can be certain about how I'm going to face things.
Yes.
And
mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly. I mean, yeah, there are times where we do surprise ourselves still, which makes life interesting, but for the most part, like, we know what we stand for, we know the values that we're going to go with, we know, like the better we know ourselves and what we're for and what we're against, the better we know how we're going to behave in a given situation. Yes.
Yeah.
So which leads to the biggest question.
Oh.
What have you learned about yourself in the last year that you feel comfortable saying in a recording? Because I know a lot more.
I literally got back to Canada like what? not even 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I find personally you learn these lessons as you go, and it doesn't you don't magically come back and go, oh, I've learned. No, you've learned it somewhere in the journey, and you just take it with you.
Yeah, it's true. It's just a matter of like processing it to the point of where you can like word it. Can I word the things? I mean, I learned a butt ton of things. I guess one of the things that I set out to learn was I wanted to just throw myself into the situation and find out what I could do. Like when all of my familiar circumstances were not there, what was left. And I think I did find that I was like really, really capable of doing all the things that I needed to do. But at the same time, that I was capable of asking for help and getting the help that I needed, and that like I found out the things that I could do and the things that I couldn't do. And then for the things that I couldn't do, I learned how to ask for the help I needed so that the things that I still needed could happen. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's my answer.
Okay. I think that's your answer. So basically you learned a lot more about who you are.
Yeah.
Because who you are is not your name. It's who you are is what you have when you have nothing certain, you have no certainties around you, when it's just you. Right? My moment, like I said, I had those moments. So like and you will have it again at different points in your life.
You've got lots of life to live. You never know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and
a volcano could erupt like underneath. I used to be terrified of that when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, like I went through a volcano phase of like learning about volcanoes, and I read this book all about it. And there's like one story in there where they said like there was this farmer, and in his field like there was a hill one day, and it just got bigger and bigger until it was a volcano. And like for months afterwards, I was terrified that a volcano would pop up at any moment, like in our backyard.
For me, I think the bizarrest thing is I had a fascination with tornadoes as a kid, but I always imagined them having a beak. And I don't understand.
Having a beak?
Yes.
A beak.
A beak.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. Maybe so they weren't so scary to me. So the moment you kind of give them a character, the moment you get something terrifies you, the moment you can actually give it something, a form of a degree of familiarity to it. Right. You're not as scared of it anymore.
So what you're telling me is that I should go and visit a volcano one day.
Yes.
And then all of my residual like back of the mind memories of my fears / anything that remains will just be gone because I'll be like, oh, that's what a volcano looks like.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been learning that this.
Yeah.
I've been learning this year that your fears need to be faced. Because the moment you face your fears, they stop controlling you.
Well, it's interesting because something that I figured out is like okay, so like it's cliche, but it's true. Like the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And I honestly think that the thing that keeps us so afraid is not necessarily what we're afraid of, but the fact that we're afraid of it.
Yes.
And then our fear, like, I like to think of it as like our fear as being a thing that's trying to keep itself alive and it's trying to survive, and it knows that if you look at it and know what it looks like, then you won't be afraid of it anymore, and so then it will cease to exist.
Well.
So what you have, like, when you are afraid of something, your first impulse is to look away. Like, don't think about it, don't look at it, like, don't let it have any sort of form. But if you go and you look at it, you're like, okay, what is it? Like, you actually, like, you have to do this on purpose and make yourself look at it and be like, okay, what are you? What is it that I'm afraid of?
Yes.
What is it that I'm afraid of losing? Like, what is it I'm afraid of happening, whatever. And then once you're able to, like, see it for what it is, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't have to be afraid of you anymore. Because now I can figure out other ways to have what it is that I need.
Yes, but also sometimes fear sometimes is like an advisor. So sometimes like when you take a risk, fear goes, well, these are the things that can happen, and fear is useful in that regard, because fear is like telling you, this is all the bad stuff that can happen. And you're like, well, this is a good point, and again, You don't always have that magical luxury of analyzing fear in a rational way, but that actually serves a big function. It's like, okay, this is a risk, this is the 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 risk.
Yeah.
That's good. Now I know all the risks. Now how can I overcome them? Right?
Right, yeah.
Right?
Oh man, when I did my Kickstarter last year, writing out, like, going through, like, the risks and challenges section was so good because I could just write down, like, all the things. Like, I was just imagining, like, what could possibly go wrong. And instead of just being like, oh my gosh, what if, I actually wrote it all down and then made a plan for all of it.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yes. Well, again, at the end of the day, I mean, this is again, I have 3 rules: show up, do the thing, the rest is rain. If you can accept that, right, no matter what good or bad things may come as a result, then you know what, you'll get through anything. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always the temptation to be like, but I want to make everything under my control so I can do the thing.
That's your temptation.
That's my temptation.
Yeah. That's your temptation. I don't have.
I think I'm the only one.
No, but I don't have it. Because it's too that because me personally, that sounds too much like work.
So what is your temptation?
My temptation?
Yeah.
Heal everybody when they're not ready for it. There are things that.
Wouldn't you think of that though as kind of a control thing?
No.
Okay.
Because so there are things I could tell people about what they're suffering from.
Right.
I can tell a lot of truth. I have a lot of access to a lot of information. A lot of people. You've seen my computer. You've seen the information I'm researching.
My desktop is so full.
Yes.
So many folders.
Yes.
I added a folder.
Okay.
The game samples.
Yes, I know. But the thing is, I have access to a lot of information. I can look at a problem, any problem, physical, and even to some degree, spiritually, and I can go, you need to do this, 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 you need to do this. But then I become everybody's dad.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and also there's some people who just don't want to listen.
Yeah. No. Exactly. No. Absolutely. So there's people who don't want to listen.
Yeah.
Who I can't help anyway.
Yeah.
And then there are people who want to listen but can only handle X amount of information. I once got into a discussion with somebody. Yeah. I once got into somebody about cancer, right? And based on the information I had, based on the information they had, I pointed out something to him about based on where his information comes from, what some of the goals of that information are. Oh yeah, right? And he could not take it. Now, he brought it up, or I wouldn't have. But I'm always, now I am incredibly careful with what I tell people. I have to be. Because if I tell it, because this goes something we talked about a long time ago, once you see something, you can't unsee it. So there's no way to unsee what you've seen.
I mean, you can kind of suppress it, I guess.
That doesn't work.
Well, I totally did that once with like an author bio for some reason.
Yeah.
There was something in there that I was just like, I don't really want to remember that I read that. I don't remember why. And then, I do remember why, but okay. Anyway, so I just did that. And then like a while later, I read the author bio again, and I was like, oh, that thing. I completely forgotten about thing, but now I remember.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of can.
To a point, but I tend to find that certain things reappear again and again and again once you see them, and if someone's not ready to deal with it, you shatter them. So, and when you shatter somebody, it's terrible. Like it's absolutely terrible, and so
I might end up shattering characters.
No, shattering characters in the book.
It makes for an interesting story. You just don't want to do it to real people.
No, you don't. They're do it. No, you want to help people. Like you want to help people, but you have to be careful. It's a very delicate balance. It's like too much medicine, you make people sicker.
Yeah.
Too little medicine, you're not helping them enough. And sometimes you got to find that right balance. And so my temptation
and especially when I was a lot younger, was I can tell you everything. Like right now, what you can do, right? I did that to a few people, and they couldn't take it. They weren't ready to take it. They weren't ready to listen at that point in time. Sometimes you have to give that information to them and let them do what they will, but there's a time and a place for that, right? And that's kind of what I've learned. So that's mine. I like control. It is a form of control. You are not completely wrong there, right? But not the same way. I don't like it. It's not. It serves no benefit to me to run your life.
Yeah.
In fact, if I do that,
And for me, it's not necessarily like I'm gonna try to run people's lives. It's just like these certain decisions. I just would like you to make the decision that I want you to make right here.
But
it's nice.
But see, that is that though. It is that.
Well, I'm not running the whole life, just that decision.
Yeah, but that decision impacts their whole life. It can be a small.
It doesn't have to.
But they usually do. They usually do.
Depends on the decision.
Yeah. Yes. But that's the thing, right? You learn. If you really love somebody, you let them live their life how they want to live it. Even if you don't agree with the decisions they make, especially, and that's the hardest part when you love somebody and care about someone.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because you know they might be making a mistake, but then again, sometimes they surprise you too. Because sometimes it works out, right? Just because. It's just
stuff happens and it works.
It works, right?
I mean, like success generally has a large portion of luck attached to it.
I don't completely buy that, actually. No.
Well, I mean, there's like it's like a balance. Like there's luck in the sense that you come across the right opportunities.
Yes.
And there's not luck in the sense that you take advantage of those opportunities.
I actually think you create those opportunities.
Probably. It's.
No, okay. So in my case, good and bad points in my life. I got an opportunity to work with one of my heroes, simply because I interviewed him. We talked. We had a really good conversation. Right. There was something. It just worked out. Right. That I was the right. Again, you could make the argument that I was in the right place at the right time. But my counter to you is on that is I was working to get into the right place at the right time. Right.
I mean, your focus, your attention has a huge amount to do with it. If you are looking for opportunities, you will find them.
Yeah.
If you are looking for reasons to fail, you will find them. You will find whatever it is that you set your mind on to find.
Absolutely.
And then, what you do with that is what you do with that. But yeah.
I like you can't control the extremes of success, right? But success does find itself with everybody. If again, I truly believe this. We live the life we want to live. We do. We come to what we want, we live.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
And what we don't do is what we don't want. And sooner or later, the world will grant us our wish. That is how life works.
Yeah. And the funny thing is about those wishes is that. I mean, the stories about genies taking wishes like super literally and messing up the intent of the wish. Like, we will want things and think we want things, and then we will get it and we'll be miserable. And we'll be like, this is awful, I don't actually want this, but you do. Because there's a part of it that you want, you just weren't counting on the rest of it.
Yes, you aren't counting on, sometimes you don't count on the price.
Yeah.
Some people pay huge prices to get what they want. And sometimes it's worth it, depending on what it is. So sometimes it's worth it. But sometimes
well, like, okay, the thing I'm thinking of is like the price of like people being happy with you. If the thing that you want is for people to be happy with you, what will happen is eventually you will find that you are living a life that's not yours, and you will be unhappy, and you will be like, you're like, all right, everybody else is happy with me, but I still feel empty.
Yes.
Because even if like you're getting exactly what you want, but you're not getting what you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing, right? There's a real trick to that, because if there is no like I said, people can live in excuses. People can live in and people do.
Yeah.
Right? Until they were, but maybe excuses are much like walls, and walls are much like fear, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end of the day, you know, people have to be like that whole adage is true. Be careful what you wish, you just might get it. Yeah, right. Because
yeah.
But
I want to travel the world for a year and experience what it's like when all the things are different and everything. And I got that, and I was just like, oh. On one hand, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. And then there's like all the unexpected side effects of like culture shock and not knowing what the heck is going on, and not being able to read signs, and being like, this orange juice does not taste like orange juice, and how on earth do you work this light switch? I've never seen a light switch shaped like this in my life, and so on.
Yes. Although that's my favorite part about other cultures is their food and their differences.
Some days though, you really just want the orange juice.
No. It's true. It's true. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, like I was really fortunate, like traveling as much. I got exposed to a lot of traditional cultures in Canada. Right, I got exposed. Right, my favorite thing. So this is why when I learn languages, I learn swear words first. Because everybody loves teaching you how to swear, right? And two, it's true. I literally at When Words Collide, I learned the sign language for bullshit.
I would say show me, but we're doing a podcast, so nobody would actually be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You just might actually, like, if there's like a passerby who like knows ASL, like.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, no. So but it was funny because she got a hoot teaching me, because she's like, yeah, come on, show me a really nasty one. It's like, oh, come here. Right? And she goes, this is my favorite one to do, and because I love doing it because no one gets it. I saw that she signed. Like, that's really cool, because I did some sign language way back in the day, and it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so show me. Right. See, I'm open. See, for me, I learned at a very young age to be open-minded, to try new things at all times, simply because I moved so much. If I didn't do that, I'd have gone insane.
True.
Yeah. Right.
True.
Right. And
if you're going from place to place, it's like often you have to keep a certain amount of openness on at all times. And if you're the kind of person who needs to recharge that openness, like I had to, like you find ways of doing it so that you're kind of constantly recharging, but also being open.
I understand the concept of familiars with some people. Like a friend of mine, she always brings a blanket with her wherever she goes to sleep. No. So it was one of the coolest things about her.
Yeah.
Right. I knew if she was staying or not simply because of that blanket, because I recognized what that blanket was for her. All right away. I don't think she fully realizes it to this day. So her mom made her that blanket, and the thing is, so everywhere she goes, she takes that blanket with her. She says that's where she's most comfortable, and I understand why, because for her mom gave it to her out of love. So so for her, no matter where she goes, she always has a little bit of that sense of home with her. So when she took the blanket down, one time she was heading out for the day, and I saw the blanket was going with her. I was like, oh, I'll see you whenever I see you. She goes, what do you mean? You're going? It's like, well, how do you know that? Because you're taking the blanket with you. Yeah. They're just things you know, right? And you just pick up, you observe people. So I understood that because, again, when I was a kid, I didn't have a lot of familiars with me. For me, though, my familiars were my comics. I mean, I think actually that is my familiar, because they're the only few things I have that have been with me since I was a kid.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's getting loud in here.
I know it's getting loud and obnoxious.
Excellent conversation. So
actually, there is one last question.
Oh, there's another question.
There's one last one.
Embrace myself.
Who is Thea van Diepen today?
Did you just say Taya or Thea?
Thea.
Okay, I was kind of over. I'm like, I don't know.
I did a thwan at the van.
Yeah.
Who is Thea?
Taya van Diepen?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm not really great at describing myself. I mean, maybe that's old me saying that right now, but like,
Well, then.
I can tell you things about myself, but as soon as it gets to the point of like describing like who is Taya, like, you know, my brain just goes.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. But
Yeah.
that does sound like a question at some point you should have an answer to.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm working, and I feel like the bit, like if there was like, if you were to look at it visually, and there's like this like area of Taya, and I'm like kind of getting towards the center, and like the center is where the bit is, but it's also where the answer is. So like as things are going, I'm kind of cornering it and making it smaller and smaller until finally it will reveal its secrets to me, ideally.
Okay. So last.
There's just a center of the circle is just a screen.
Yeah. It's a screen. Please. What's the password? But anyways, that's I stroked my beard at the password thing. So
Yes.
she laughed. So the last question. So the last thing then.
Okay.
No. It's the interview's done. The last thing is how can people find you? I always end that. That's a good way to end an interview, right?
You know.
And you should talk a little bit about your game, a little bit about. No. I mean, it's the end of the interview. It's your most next thing coming out.
I like how I've been on your podcast like how many times, and now you're like telling me here's how you end the podcast.
That's because you host like, what do I do? You let the person promote their crap at the end of the show.
I hope my thing isn't crap.
No.
I know what you meant.
Yeah,
Just teasing.
promote their. No. If it was actually bad, it'd be another 4-letter word. But
Fair.
yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah, it'd be another 4-letter word. But the thing is, like, you gotta let people promote their stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So stop and let me promote my stuff. All right. So I have a game coming out before/after this podcast. Whatever. It's called The Tree in the Grave. And it's about like trees and magic and righting ancient wrongs, which is always cool. You will be able to get it on Gumroad, and you will find where to get it on my website, which is theavandiepen.com. And yeah, I'm also on Twitter. Just look for Thea van Diepen. It's really easy to find me. I'm one of only 2 Thea van Diepens on the entire internet, and the other one's in like Holland. So there you go.
There you go.
Check out The Tree in the Grave when you get the chance. It's really fun. Like, it definitely kind of has a bit of a light novel feel to it, but it's a really enjoyable story. Thea is a very accomplished writer. She's getting better with every story she puts together, and it's always a pleasure to read and experience as she becomes a better storyteller all the way around. So Thea, thank you very, very much for being on my show yet again. And yeah, your game's awesome. Just so you know. And that is just about it. My GoFundMe hit up $500, which that surprised me. Like I said, my expectations, though I have a big number, is not very high. It's just like whatever people can do. And yeah, it's really touching. It really, really is. Thanks to everybody that's donated. Thanks to everybody that's shared. I'm really, really tempted to say thank you to somebody else, but I promised I wouldn't talk about them anymore. So, but I thank them too, because they inadvertently helped, whether they realize it or not. Yeah, like I said, it's been a wild ride. I haven't done any updates on the GoFundMe yet, so I wanted to do that here. And so I'm going to Mexico January 11th. That is the plan as of right this minute. I'm not quite sure what the end result is going to be. I'm going to have, it looks like, at least $3,000, which is cool. I've been busting my ass. This is the first time in days I've been able just to sit down and chill. This is why the podcast has been so late. I've been doing a lot of 4 a.m. shifts, which is just brutal. But again, you gotta be able to pay your price, and you gotta do your part as well. So, yeah, like I said, I'm kind of touched. So everybody that's helped, even if it's just a share, a comment, whatever. Thank you very very much. It's again, I'm incredibly humbled. I really am. There's not much more I can say. That will do it for another episode of Just Joshing. Merry Christmas. I would tell you to go buy my books and subscribe and all that other fun stuff, but really, it's the holidays. I don't really like you get enough commercial crap this time of year. So, how about this? Have some ice cream and Baileys. Spend time with your family. Relax. Enjoy this moment in time, whatever you're doing. Hopefully, for each and every one of you listening to this, good things will come to you. All of you. So, happy holiday. This won't be the last podcast this year. I got at least a couple more that are going to be out before the year's done. But for now, until December 26th, when I release the next episode, Merry Christmas.
Josh.